In this video, I'm going to walk you through the steps of setting up a simple composition that illustrates color schemes, and this will be done in Illustrator. So I've opened Illustrator, and I'm going to go to a new file here, and I'm going to change a few of the settings. I want to work in inches. I'm going to do a horizontal orientation or a landscape orientation, and for the color mode, I need to set that to RGB color. Okay, so we're getting a little warning here. It's different from the color space defined by. That's fine. Okay, and we'll create. So here's my new document. And I'm going to save this file as my name followed by color scheme. So file, save as, I'm going to save it to my computer, and I'll just, you obviously would put your name in here and say save. And that's fine. Okay. Under the view window, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to turn on the rulers, and I'm also going to show the grid. Okay. Now we're going to set up some guidelines to create some squares, and we'll do that by dragging guidelines from the ruler. So over here, or up on the top here, so since I have 8.5, just as a kind of reference, I'm going to put a center guideline here. So that is 4.25. And then I need to go up from there 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go to where it's 2.75, and then I'll do another one at 5.75. So I should have now a 3-inch dimension from here to here. And I'll do something similar from right to left. It looks like my guide's just a little bit low here, so I'm going to bring it up to the proper spots. A little hard to, you may have to zoom in. Don't forget that when you're using these Adobe products, there we go. Control plus or Command plus allows you to zoom in closer, and Command minus or Control minus allows you to zoom out. All right, I'll make another one centered. This time I'm dragging it from the left side here at 6.5 inches, so 5.5, sorry, 5.5 inches. Hold down that left mouse button and drag it. These don't have to be perfect. In fact, we could probably set it to snap to our grid lines, but again, this is fine for what we're doing. I'll put one at 4 inches here and another at 7 inches, and then I'll leave 0.5 inch between them, and I will make two more sets, one at 7.5 to 10.5. All right, so now I've got these guidelines for creating the squares, and I'm ready to put those squares in. Okay, if you click on the little arrow here, you're going to see there's a rectangle tool. That will be the default anyways, but I'm basically going to generate a square here. Okay, now I need to establish what the fill color is, and before I do that, we're going to back up here. I'm going to go to the layer manager, and I'm going to generate some layers. I'll double click in the layer name and I'll change it to base colors. Okay, and now I'm ready to to make my squares. Again, I'm going to try to snap to these intersections. And when as you can see, there's no color either on the perimeter or as a fill, and I want to add that fill color. So I got the hex code that I'm going to be using for my base color, and I'm going to double click in the color picker for the fill. And I'm going to paste that in there. Don't know if you can keep the number or not, but B8DE3A is my hex code. And I'm going to click on OK. All right, so there's the color that I'm going to be working with. And I'm, again, you can kind of clean those up a bit, but what I just did here, I'm going to create another rectangle, and it's going to have the same fill colors, and it will not have a border color. You want to make sure you don't have a border color because it will impact the composition a little bit. All right, so now I've got these 3 base colors that I'm working with, and I'm ready to go on to the next step. Each of these squares is going to represent a different color scheme. In the first one, I'm going to focus on a monochromatic color scheme. So when we say monochromatic, we basically mean one color or one hue, but you can range the value from white to black. So you'll have grays in there, but again, it can go as far as white to black and still be considered monochromatic. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start constructing. Actually, before I do that, let's create a new layer. To create a new layer, you want to go down to the bottom here. It's this. And click on create new layer. And I'm going to just call this one other colors. Okay, and I'm going to lock the base colors, and I'm going to click on other colors. So that is now my current color. So now these base colors are not going to move around. And I will start by making a series of rectangles. They should vary in width. The more interesting compositions are varied, don't have the same width, but we'll be generating a series of these colors, these rectangular colors sitting on top of the base color. For the color that's going to be filled in this one, I'm going to double click, and I basically just want to move the color picker around the space. And again, you can go as far as white or as far as black, or anywhere in between. And again, we're trying to work with a monochromatic color scheme. Okay, and I'll make another rectangle over here. This one I'll make narrower. And instead of going light, I'm going to go dark. Double click. Quite a little bit of that underlying hue in there. Okay. So you're just going to repeat this process and just go through here and create a bunch of rectangles that are the full height here, and choose different different values within this hue until you've kind of filled the whole thing. Okay, so you can put as many stripes in there as you like, but I think the most interesting ones have lots of variation between lights and darks, and have different sizes or thicknesses of the stripes. Anyway, that's it for the monochromatic one. The next one is going to be something called analogous. So to kind of give you some illustration about how it works, if I had started with an orange color here in the color wheel, the analogous colors are those immediately to the right and to the left. So if my base color was orange instead of this kind of green yellow, I would be using reds and yellows for my stripes. But the color that I've chosen is somewhere more around here. So for my analogous colors, it's going to be yellow to the blue zone. Okay, so now I'm ready to construct some stripes in this middle one. And again, this is referred to as analogous in terms of color schemes. So I'll make a stripe here, and then I will double click on it. And this time, instead of going towards, let's see here, I'm going to go more towards this sort of bluish green. And then at the same time, I'm not going to keep the same value. I'm going to shift the value also. So this next part, you're shifting the hue and you're shifting the value, but you want to stay within a narrow band of colors to one side or the other of the base color that you've selected. Okay, so there's one. And I think you may find for this part, one of the things that you may want to do is copy some of them from here. So I'm going to copy this one. Oops. Copy, paste, and move this into place. And so this is a monochromatic one, and I'm going to make some changes to it. I'm going to bring it down more towards this kind of orangey color. And let's see here, I'll make it a sort of lighter color in there. Okay, so you're going to go through this same sort of process. I'm going to right click, copy, and then right click, paste. And I'll take this color, this rectangle, and double click here. And this one, I'm going to shift it more here, and maybe I'll make it a little darker. That's okay. And I can, start to adjust these, make them wider or narrower. Let's see here, right click, copy, right click, paste, move it into place. You want to put this one on top of there. And when I go to pick the color, this one, let's drop it down to more of the orangey zone and brighten it up. We get a little contrast between it and the color behind. And you can, continue with the same idea. Again, analogous colors, choose the color that, use the base color and go a little bit to the left and right of those colors. Now the last square is going to be filled with a color scheme that is complementary. So again, if I had chosen orange, the complement is the color or a close range of the colors across the color wheel. So for my example in this video, I'm using this sort of greenish yellow color. So my complement would be this kind of magenta purpley color that's on the opposite side. So going back to the Illustrator file, I'm going to click on one of these and copy it and paste one over here. Okay, now I'm going to double click, and colors that I'm going to choose are going to be on the far side here. And again, I can play with the values, make it darker, make it lighter, but basically I'm going to end up with a series of colors that are complements to the base color. Okay, so now I have the three schemes done, and I'm just going to zoom in a little closer here, Control plus, and come in and sort of clean up my edges so they align a little bit better with the guideline. You can try, if you're having problems getting it to be a little bit more precise, scroll down and snap to grid. That might help make this a little bit easier. Yeah. All of these can be adjusted a little bit. Oops. Don't want to rotate it. Just want to bring it in. Okay, and go around and clean it up before you save the file and then generate a JPEG image from the file. Yeah, it would have definitely been easier to have set that to snap to the grid before starting. So for the base color, it's also a little bit off grid. So I'm going to click on it and bring it in. So then now all of these are kind of aligning across the top and across the bottom. These ones are quite a bit off over here. Okay, so a little bit more cleanup and then we'll be ready to print or to export as a JPEG. So last steps are to just simply save your file and also to go and export it, export as, choose the JPEG file type, and the JPEG will have the same name as the Illustrator file itself. You can leave all the settings by default. Okay.